it possible for you to unhide a slide for me?
Can I spit with? Which slide?
Okay, I can't do it that way.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there you go. This one.
one?
Yeah. No,
No.
you can't.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Because it's, I don't know why. I don't know why. Oh, maybe enable editing. Okay,
Okay.
now you can. Yes,
So how do I
Okay.
unfit it?
yes, it's already done.
Is it?
It's good. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Now we pray that the screens come back on. You're right. I don't,
Let me give her a second.
yeah, that's fine. Gonna turn out the lights. It seems dim in here. Okay. Okay. Think good thought. I'm doing the right thing, right? Where's how it's all twisted. It says it's okay, maybe. It's all. I'm a mess back here. Okay. Monday. It's Monday, Sam.
And we're in it together, John.
Here we are. Oh.
We're doing it together.
We're doing it together. That's right. Good morning, everyone. Oh, you did it. Thank you. Welcome. I'm so glad that all of you are here. Happy morning time to you. We'll start with just a moment to come to centering here. So just whatever comfortable, feet on the floor, posture helps you to become centered. Just take a couple of good deep breaths. Diving into some old ideas, some new ideas, ways of moving forward. I want to start just with some announcements as usual. Start with some announcements. I know this is really small. This is the extra credit opportunity that Autumn posted the other day. So this is the two mystery points that we hadn't chosen because sometimes cool things come up. And that's true. There are lots of cool events happening in the next couple of weeks. And so the extra credit will be that you'll attend the event and write a reflection about it. What did you like about it? How did you feel at the event? Was it effective in connecting people to Earth? These are all about Earth Day celebrations. So if given the opportunity, what would you change about the event to make it more connecting? Who did you bring with you and how did that impact your experience? So just reflecting on the opportunity. So you can submit those just on paper to your TA or whatever you and your TA agree upon as the best way to submit those. So you can do up to 2 of those for points. And that's an opportunity, a new opportunity coming up. It's posted in an announcement for you. The TA conversations, a bunch of you have signed up for TA conversations. That's really exciting. That Google link is listed also in an announcement for you. And so if you'd like to, if you've changed your mind, if you didn't sign up on the sheet, it is not too late. and you can sign up on that Google Doc for a conversation. So that's available to you. Resolve a nature mystery. That was an extra credit that was given it's after your week 4 journal, in between weeks 4 and 5. You can find Resolve a Nature Mystery. That extra credit is available until this Friday. So get that into your TA if you're interested in doing that. And here we go into the material for the day. Oh, the one thing that it didn't come up, but I got an email this morning that the Seeks are available. That's the questionnaire, your student experience questionnaire about this class. And I take those very seriously. I appreciate the feedback that you give. And so please, they offer space for comments. That's the stuff that's most helpful. The numbers are great. That's helpful. But then if there are things that you can suggest to change, then make sure to make a comment so that I know if you give me, a 3 rating and I don't know why you chose 3, then it's not particularly helpful. So the more information that you can give me, I understand that takes more time, but if you want your feedback to make a difference for future classes of BiSci 3, then please give me the comments. That is incredibly helpful. Okay, now into this. How flexible are you when it comes to change? Could be little change, it could be big change. How flexible are you? So I'd like to have you consider this, right? Change can be challenging and tiring, and it can also be fun and exciting. So talk to your neighbor about this. How flexible are you when it comes to change? It's a big question, very wide open. What's that? I don't know. Okay, thanks for asking. What's that? All right, how flexible are you when it comes to change? This will apply as we go through today's class. And so what we've been talking about, lower our ecological footprint as significantly and work less, have more fun, be more connected, be more free and creative, and become more fully ourselves. So this is the path that we're on here. This book, written in 2020, I found to be really helpful in opening some of the ideas that I was having. And we're going to share a video from this that was mentioned in this book from 1939, Futurama, General Motors at the World Fair. So we're going to watch some of this video. It's actually not this one. Oh, okay. This is the only video. Well, then we'll go back and see. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Sam. Sorry, that was my fault. No worries. Here it comes, the magic. It's okay, all good. Here we go.
The place that it was started was 1931 World's Fair. At what was the most successful World's Fair in history, the most successful exhibit was one called Future One. So help us get a vision of a future of this unfinished world of ours. That integrated what we call World's Fair. In the distant year 1960. The city was car-driven, lots of open space. You live in this country and drive to your job downtown, and you have the best. Urban splendor and urban incident. The sponsor motors. It's nonsense that just before the war. And this image is small. From the war. For years while I was at work. And this was all about a new hopeful American dream. Did you know your skin is the largest part of your body?
It's all good. So this idea of developing and building the future according to what General Motors saw as possibilities, it's really fascinating, right? So now what we have, the most ecological harmful form of land settlement ever invented, suburbia. The idea that we have to drive places to get things that we need and to go to work. We each have our own little square or quadrangle of whatever size, and then we drive away from there to get what we need. So that means that 91.7% of households in the US had access to at least one car in 2021. 8.3% of households did not have access to cars. So we've been up and down over the course of our history, right? With food choices, with shelter choices, and with transportation choices. Right? So we did this the other day, thinking about, we're skipping this, thinking about how we could shift the story, even though this is the majority of the structure that we have. What is it that we can do for each other, creating these thriving villages in the places that we live? going from the idea that we are so independent to the idea that we are interdependent. Does every one of those houses need to have its own lawnmower? Does every one of those houses need to have its own drain snake? Does every one of those houses need all the things, or can we share, right? So how is it that we can create a neighborhood library, so to speak, where you can come and check out that sander or that drill or whatever it is that you need for just a short period of time? So then how are we going to really make it an economy of sharing? So Charles Eisenstein is a pretty interesting author who writes about the gift economy, a shift from consumption to contribution, from transaction to trust, from scarcity to abundance, and then isolation to community. The idea that money is just an agreement, it's a man-made invention. Is that the way that we need to emphasize our lives to get that money that we need? And so the gift economy is one of reciprocity. It's of sharing and giving and receiving. So being able to balance this gift economy is one where status is given to individuals based on what they give to others, as opposed to a commodity or exchange economy where status is given to those who have the most. So this is just out there for an opportunity for you to think about, what do we need, what do we want, and how do we get it? My algebra professor or teacher in high school, very sweet and kind man, in solving for X, he taught me that use what you have to get what you need, right? And that was about algebra. But I have found that I think that he actually said that in a larger, grander teaching scale. Use what you have to get what you need. And so figuring these things out, making these choices for yourself can look like so many different things. And I know that this in my little neighborhood is really sweet. We have a buy nothing group, right? And so somebody asked me the other day where I get my clothes, and a lot of them come to me through the buy nothing group. Somebody will start a bag of things that they say, well, this is generally women's size, small and medium, and they throw in the things they don't want, and then I receive it, and I pull out the things that I like and the things I want, and then I add the stuff I have that doesn't work, and then I pass it on to the next woman who says, yeah, I could look through a bag of smalls and mediums. And so it's this gift economy of sharing and passing and being, and how much more satisfying that is than standing at a rack in a department store with lights that give me a headache. And it just, then what comes to me is the opportunity, and it comes from a friend in the neighborhood. So how do we get what we need? Today is about transportation. So really taking a deep look at our transportation cars, or our transportation, which is usually cars, and how is it affecting me personally, and then how is it affecting my community, and then the greater planet community as well. So take a moment and think about this with your neighbor. What's great about cars and what's not so great? So dig into that. All right, let's do some great things. What's so great about cars? Where are the microphones? Great. Excellent. Thank you all. What do you appreciate about cars?
I mean, cars give you the freedom to kind of go wherever you want, whenever you want. And I feel like America has built their kind of structure around having a car to get to like a grocery market or your job. You most likely will have to drive, or else walking or biking will take you a lot longer.
Yes, thank you. Get where you want to go, wherever you want to do it. Love that about my car. Yeah,
I feel like they give people more opportunities because you're able to see more things and maybe you could work a job that's like further away so you could make more money. So I feel like they give just like everyone opportunity.
Yep, agreed. Thank you. Anything else? Yeah, thanks, Zach.
I feel like it allowed me to get closer to my family as a kid because my grandparents lived like an hour and a half away, and it was a pretty drive we could make on a weekend and go see them.
That's sweet. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. What else?
I feel like it's like more clean compared to
Mm.
like public transportation, especially because it's like your own.
Yes, unless you saw my car, it is not clean. Yes, my car functions as a truck, even though it's a Honda Fit. Yes, so you can keep it clean. You get to choose what it looks like. Yes, this morning I remembered a band that I used to listen to in college, and it just like being able to listen to that music in my car and just drive to work. It felt so free. It felt so good. I was singing like karaoke is one of my absolutely favorite things, right? So singing in the car, just being me, being by myself in my car, those are all sweet things, right? What's not so great about cars?
I was talking with my students about this book that I read in high school. It's called Happy City.
Mm.
And it's all about like urban design and stuff. And a big bulk of the novel was about how driving for long periods of time really negatively affects your mental health. And at that point in my life, I was commuting like 30 to 45 minutes to and from my high school. And I was like, wow, yeah, like this makes me feel miserable. Like
Yeah.
I would just, there was always traffic and I would always like get in like road rage battles with people and I would go home and feel like exhausted.
Yeah.
So I like don't want a future where I have to commute like that because my mom has to commute like an hour to work and like I just do not want that. But I do also see the benefits at the same time. So I think
Yeah.
it's just like another situation where you need to find the balance.
Yeah. Thank you, Morgan. Mental health effects of driving. Yeah. What else?
Hey guys, I think something that's really interesting is I'm an education major, and when you have to student teach, they can put you in a school up to 50 miles away, which means if I'm living in State College, I could have to student teach in Altoona, and kind of like thinking about that and thinking about what that could look like is having to drive up to an hour every single day, and like that's 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. Like you're spending more time in the car than you are in the school, and I just think like going to a school that far even if it's just me in the car, which it most likely will be, is just like makes such an impact on the environment that like you wouldn't even think about.
Yep. So the time impact, the environmental impact. Thank you, Ellen. Yeah. Chris?
Something that I think about a lot with transportation is the accessibility of it. Not all people can like get a driver's license or pay car insurance or pay for gas
Yeah.
or buy a car.
Yeah.
So as much as it's like convenient, I just don't think that it's accessible for all people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's an extra. Right? Yep. Yeah. All very good points. Thank you for doing that. We're gonna break it down a little bit. So 1 gallon of gas makes 20 pounds of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. It seems impossible, like a gallon of gas weighs 6.3 pounds and produces 20 pounds of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere from your car. So how that works is the weight of the CO2 doesn't come from the gasoline itself, but the oxygen in the air. So when the gasoline is burning, the carbon and the hydrogen molecules separate, and then the hydrogen combines with oxygen to form water, which is why you see that condensation coming from the tailpipe of the car. And the carbon combines with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. It's the oxygen that's the heavier element. So it's the weight gain of the moisture and then the carbon dioxide going into the air is what creates the heavier impact, right? So that's important to note. We've talked about what gasoline and fossil fuels does for the environment. And then when we think about the prices of gasoline, this picture was taken a long time ago, and yet it's thinking about the full cost accounting. Now these prices are kind of real in today's economy, but what happens is if we were really to consider what it costs to make gasoline, to get gasoline where it needs to go, all of the stages. So if we included the property acquisition, the exploration, the development costs, and if those are all put into the pool of how much a gallon of gasoline costs, then we would be talking about really like a much higher price for gasoline. We are not paying what gasoline actually costs to make, even now at the prices that we're paying. So we have that cost to consider. We have the cost of all of this, right? The chaos. The car accidents are the leading cause of death for drivers ages 15 to 20. As a category of accidents, motor vehicle fatality is the leading cause of death to teenagers. 20% of teenager deaths are related to car accidents. So this economic and societal impact of road crashes costs US citizens about $871 billion, as well as the pedestrian and the bicyclist fatalities as they continue to rise. And they are on the rise because of distracted driving. There are so many things, right? Even if I'm eating in my car, even if I'm whatever, looking at the radio, let alone my phone, right? Thinking about all of the distractions that we have today in our cars. So all of this negative impact. So now, Sam, we're going to look at that other video. Thank you.
Basically, the problem of traffic on local streets. To provide foundational arguments for traffic on local Donald Ecuador, who is a professor, conducted a series of studies on 3 different streets in San Francisco, chosen to be as identical as possible in every dimension except for one, the amount of traffic on that street. And what Donald Ecuador was able to show is just the mere presence of cars with the envelope of danger that they project around them, and the noise, the pollution, crushes the quality of life in our neighborhoods. What's really about the topics in the local streets that they really provided was it removed us from just looking at specific numbers of people who get killed on the street, but actually showing that there was this other way that we could measure the environmental impacts of traffic on neighborhood streets. Things such as a light traffic street help bring the community together, and in contrast, a heavy traffic street would actually rip it apart, and two social ties were able to be created. This chart here
shows you social interaction on these three different streets. So each line shows a connection between one person on the street and another. There are just a lot fewer lines on the heavily traffic street as opposed to the moderate or the light traffic street. Clearly, a lot more interconnected. So what these charts are showing is that people on the light traffic street, no more people have more friends than on the heavily traffic street. On the light traffic street, people have on average 3 friends per person. And on the heavily traffic street, 0.9 friends per person. The fact that the amount of traffic on the street on which you live can impact the number of friends you have in the world. It's of enormous significance. The other thing that Donald Applegaard plotted on these charts are these little dots that indicate where people gather. So it shows on the heavily traffic street, there are a much smaller number of dots, and there are only a few people who gather on the street. The fact that they were able to measure, quantify the reduction in number of friends, number of acquaintances that's caused by traffic is enormously important and helps to eliminate the.
So that social network of what happens and how that relates to the vehicle usage, the cars that are moving. It could also be, there was some public transportation shown in the video too. So thinking about how it's knitting together that social fabric of neighborhoods is so fascinating. And I feel this very distinctly in my neighborhood. When I watched that video the first time, I thought this is exactly describing where I live. So if we think about, this is my neighborhood, right? So I live here on the corner. Let me get my boundaries, my bearings. So this is Route 45. It's not labeled that way. This is Route 26. This is the turn that you take to go over the mountain to Shavers Creek. So this is a very busy road. This intersection is particularly dangerous here because there's a flashing light, but there's just not a lot of space for turning, right? And this red dot is my house. And so when I think about, this is also a pretty busy street, people going too fast for this little neighborhood. And so what happens is that my friends are in this quadrant, right? Most of the people that I know and have connection with are here, right? I don't tend to have friends on that side of the busy street or on this side. And when my kids are now old enough that they're adventuring out on their bikes, right? Making sure that crossing these intersections, it makes me incredibly nervous. So I tend to keep them closer. I tend to keep them in. And so even though the other side of town is literally across the street, I just don't have those social connections. So reflecting on these is really a fascinating opportunity of how cars impact these places that we choose to live. Might be something that you want to look at as you're choosing places to live. So the more cars there are, there is often less space for people to gather. So this is the European template, right, where we have these malls that you can walk, where they have them, and people can gather. And here in State College, we have, there's been an effort to close the lower block of Allen Street. So think about where Pickles is, Rapid Transit is, the corner room, there's a jewelry store on the corner. So closing that block and making it an open space like this. So what do you think about that? Like, consider this as an option for State College. What do you think? Should it be open? Should it be closed? What are the ups and downs of that opportunity? Why don't you talk to your neighbor about that? Okay, seems like they're ready. So what do you think? What are your opinions about this? Or what have you seen in other places that might apply to this choice?
I think it's a nice thought. Like, it would be nice to be able to just walk around down there, and especially when it's like nice out and this football season's going on, you're shopping and everything. There's so many people out, but it's not realistic because especially because a lot of the streets down there are one way. So, if College Ave was like shut down for half of it, coming straight off the highway from like down by the Rise, um, it would just, I feel like it would just screw up traffic everywhere else. It would just make traffic everywhere else so much worse.
Thanks for saying so.
So I was here over the summer and they closed down Allen and Pew like a lot over the summer.
Mhm.
And as someone who like I have a car, I drive around a lot. I personally didn't think it was that inconvenient. And I really liked when they were shut down because I liked being able to go out there and not have to worry about like, am I going to get hit by a car? Like if I'm hanging out downtown.
Mhm.
And I feel like I was just saying to my student, with the way that college is one way and Beaver is one way, it's kind of inconvenient already to drive around downtown. I feel like at least. So I like it when they shut it down.
Thanks.
They have done this in my hometown.
Hi.
And they did over COVID. And it really worked well. It's also just a busy area. So I think it'd be great for State College. It would work really well,
Mhm.
especially when nightlife is out and there's a lot of people walking around.
Yeah, agree.
It just kind of takes away like the danger of people getting hit possibly.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of like a great space to walk around and have fun.
Yeah, feels good. The community feels good. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that they should do this because there's like a lot of like main bars there and like cars fly down that road because a lot of people in State College don't know how to drive. So like I almost get hit by a car all the time. And so I feel like that being there, like Champs is there and like Pickles is there and Brothers is there, like those are three like pretty major bars, and especially a lot of the times like the line will like go into the street. So I think it would be beneficial, and I don't think it would be inconvenient at all because like there's already so much traffic. It doesn't really make a difference if there's like 2 more minutes of traffic.
Yeah. Thanks, Zach. Yeah. So it's been on the debate, right, for many years. And so some of the businesses oppose the idea that are in that block because they don't want their customers to have to walk further. They want people to be able to park right in front of the business and go in, do what they need and come back out, get in their car and drive away. So there's this up and down, right, of choices. And you are going to have the opportunity someday soon, potentially, that you'll get to go out into a community and be part of these decisions, right? Part of the choices that impact the community. If you get involved and care about what's going on in your community, then it's kind of interesting. There's lots of choices that can weave the community together or that can keep people separate. So what is it that will be best for where you're going to be? It's hard to say, but knowing that these options exist is pretty exciting. So how fast are we really going in our cars, right? If we do a full cost accounting of our cars, the average person is said devotes 1,600 hours per year to their car. So that time that I'm sitting in it at stoplights, that time I'm sitting in it and waiting for my kids to get in, the times when I park it and then I have to walk to it and get it, wherever that might be. As students, you might have to park far away from where you actually live. So what is the full time? And then I'm also working to earn the money to support my car, which would be the fuel and the tolls and the insurance and the taxes and the maintenance. And then of course, traffic tickets, if you have that going on. And so all of that goes into the full cost accounting of owning a car? Chris brought up some of these points when she was talking about not everybody can afford to have a car. And then, you know, our great history of our species, we've walked a lot of places, a lot of the time. And our body is made for it. Our bodies aren't made for sitting all the time. And so I think that when Morgan was talking about the mental health of sitting in traffic, that's something to be considered, how our bodies were built for moving. So car increase has increased dramatically over the last 50 years. And so how has that contributed to our health physically, our health mentally? And I want to point out that the research shows that more than 35% of vehicle trips are less than 2 miles. 2 miles, it takes me like 30 minutes, even if I'm like sauntering, just kind of checking things out. So is it worth driving, you know, all that time spent in my car when I could be doing something good for my body, for the environment? So really considering what's going on with cars, right? This is something you can do. You can really calculate, you know, does driving really save you time? When is it appropriate to drive? And when do you really not need to do that? And then, of course, all of this plays into our transportation footprint. What's possible? So if you go back 100 years, knowing all that you know about cars, right, the human death and the military action over oil and the separation from each other and the breakdown of community and climate change and noise and health, would you have said, yes, cars are the answer? Just a point for you to reflect upon. So what is possible? What other options do we have? We have walking, of course. We have public transportation, has a long list of pros and cons related to public transportation. That also doesn't work for everyone. There used to be a bus that came to my neighborhood, but it was at inconvenient times, and now they've canceled that line because nobody needed to go or nobody was using it. So now I don't have the option of public transportation from my place. So this might be something that plays in. And sometimes it's dirty, somebody mentioned. Sometimes it feels unsafe. So you have to consider and weigh the options. The idea is that you have the choices to make about this. So public transportation. And then considering bikes, of course. So when we think about the average fuel economy for model cars, cars that are being produced today, cars, light trucks, and SUVs, the average fuel economy is 24 miles per gallon. Side note, I have to wonder why there's such slow improvement here. Like there's a lot of technology out there that could be increasing miles per gallon, and yet we're not using it. But the point of the slide is that cycling is way more efficient than walking because we can get further on the energy that we're burning. If we do the calculations here, if we compare the amount of calories burned in bicycling compared to the number of calories an automobile burns, it's found that bikes get 930 miles per gallon, right? A 50-fold reduction in ecological footprint. So how is that calculated? 100 calories can power a bicyclist for 3 miles. 100 calories, 3 miles. But 100 calories of gasoline only powers a car for 280 feet. So that's where the calculation comes in. So the efficiency of bicycles, but then we need to, well, this is just comparatively, this is the map of cycling lanes in Europe, so for safety's sake. But then I want to open this conversation. Bicycle-friendly university. What do you think? Anybody have immediate thoughts about this? Is this a bicycle-friendly university? Hey, Sarah, could you take the mic to Zach?
So my first thought is no, but not because like the distance isn't doable, just because of like the winter. Like it
Mm.
gets so cold here that I think biking during that time would be like really difficult.
Okay, thank you for that consideration. Yeah,
Hey,
hi.
I also feel like on campus we should have a separate like spot for just bikes, like how there's a bike lane, because I feel like I'm getting hit by a bike almost every day. It's kind of scary. So I feel like
Yeah.
having a separate space for the bikes to ride would be a bit better, but I would say generally, yeah, it's bike friendly except for that.
Okay, good. Bike lanes would be helpful. For the bikers and for the pedestrians, right? Then it would be safer. Any other thoughts about this? He's coming over there.
Hi.
I Sawyer.
I ride my bike every day to like class, and I even did it in the winter. It wasn't that cold. You just had to like wear a coat and gloves.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think it's that friendly because yeah, it doesn't have bike lanes, and like sometimes I feel like a real like jerk. Some like if I'm like cutting somebody off or like doing whatever, but
Yeah.
it's hard because there's like scooters and people walking in cars. So I think bike lanes would definitely be a good fix to that.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, I think that it's great that people do bike around campus. I've also I've witnessed a lot of near accidents, right? That it seems a little scary. And with the scooters as well, haven't calculated scootering around campus and that advantage of that, but definitely considering this, and this is something that as students you can speak up about on campus if this is something that you're passionate about. So I want to present this idea of the green triangle, the idea that if we do something to help our wallet, then we also do that thing will also help the environment and it will also help our health. We're going to be diving into this more on Wednesday, but how is it that we can find these connections and balance where we can actually thrive, right? To grow, develop well, or vigorously to prosper and to flourish. And in order to do that, we have these choices. Life is a matter of choices, and every choice you make makes you. Thinking back to the beginning of where we were in class and the idea of choices, of exploring and considering, and also being patient with yourself as you learn and you grow, and the idea that opportunity is nowhere versus opportunity is now here. I'll be giving you your reflection question after Wednesday's class, and I hope that you have a beautiful day. Thank you. Yes. Will you, let me turn off my microphone.